Pakistan is blessed with immense opportunity, but this beautiful land and its wonderful people face many challenges. We know how terrorism, corruption, earthquakes, floods and droughts have ravaged our nation. But one of the biggest threats, Pakistan's exploding population, remains unrecognized. It lurks in our midst without us knowing. Pakistan is the sixth most populous country in the world. From 34 million in 1950 to 190 million today, our population is expected to rise to 300 million by 2050. Is this sustainable? What does this mean in a context of resource scarcity? Pakistan is already water stressed. By 2035, water will be scarce. This could have grave implications for food and energy security. If population growth is left unchecked, a disaster may be looming. But why do families have more children in the first place? A range of factors are responsible for large family size, and so the solutions are multifaceted. Women's education and empowerment and societal change are at the core. The role of the health and population sectors in family planning is equally critical. But after 60 years of investment in family planning, the indicators are simply unacceptable. The contraceptive prevalence is around 34%, and the unmet need for family planning is 20%.
Look at the national statistics. The tremendous gap in what is desirable and what were the targets in terms of contraceptive prevalence, in terms of the total fertility rate, these two vital things, and decades of insomnia. And believe me, I don't think anyone is worried.
The systems we have built have clearly not functioned. Pakistan adopted the policy goal of universal health coverage for family planning 5 decades ago. A nationwide family planning program and health infrastructure are meant to provide access to family planning. Donors have provided free commodities for over 50 years. Training institutes and information systems have been established nationwide. But there is a disconnect between these systems and the goals they are meant to pursue. Can the 18th Constitutional Amendment and devolution to the provinces be a lever through which these systemic problems can be overcome?
What we've had and what we still have at provincial level are two vertical programs still operating. Family planning, population on the one side, and health on the other. The devolution is an opportunity for the provinces now to fully integrate reproductive health services into mainstream health, so that people can access family planning at any health facility that they visit.
Women in Pakistan's conservative societies don't want to be seen going to clinics which brand family planning. They want to be counselled quietly. It makes sense to merge health and population, but there are opinions for and against it.
In my opinion, merger of health and population department would be counterproductive as far as family planning services are concerned. Merger of two departments was tried in Bangladesh at the behest of the donors. The two countries have similar structures, and it was an unmitigated disaster. And Bangladesh has reverted to its old scheme of separate departments. I don't think there is any point in replicating failures.
I think that integration between population and health is a vital link. It's got to be national strategy, it's got to be a provincial strategy, and we were able to integrate the population cadre of women in the population ministry and integrate it with the lady health worker scheme. And I admit that the kind of national policy which would make population and health an integrated facility for the citizen, we were never able to achieve.
Integration of health and population is critical, but it will solve only part of the problem because of the systemic problems which plague functioning of public service delivery in the health and population sectors.
The leakage of contraceptives, yes, there is evidence of it. Cartons of condoms were dredged out of the River Ravi, and I happened to have access, and they were shown to me. I don't know how much more evidence we have got of this, but there is enough for us to take cognizance of the leakage of contraceptives.
Consignments also get expired lying on shelves. The high-value ones, such as injections, can be stolen. It is critical for reform to re-engineer management and, most importantly, create the right incentives. In addition to family welfare clinics, the Population Welfare Department also has other service delivery outlets. RHSBs are another service delivery option. These are based in the private sector and NGOs. After devolution, many RHSBs have now been abandoned. Some are in locations which were ideal for women's access, as is the case in this RHSB, which was inside a women's community center. The center was also the hub of economic activity for poor women, who linked up with a sewing and stitching cooperative. Alongside, they also had the opportunity to undergo surgery quietly. After devolution, these RHSBs are now closed. Their surgical theatres present a sorry picture of investment that has gone to waste and an opportunity which remains untapped.
So there's a huge gap. There's a gap of 20% which in 6 years we have to reach. How can this happen? Unless the public sector, the private sector, the NGO and everybody moves in tandem.
55% of the family planning coverage is estimated to be by the private sector in Pakistan. With 20% unmet need, there's great potential for social marketing, especially if it is expanded in the rural areas.
In a country where you have got a patriarchal system, where you have got son preference, where you have got everything that goes around the male psyche, how on earth can we neglect male responsibility, responsible fatherhood, and take Islam? The male mindset has to be changed. Male thinking has to be changed. I want to give you the example of Iran, of Indonesia, of even Bangladesh, where the men of these countries are taking the lead in responsible fatherhood. So the time has come, this is low-hanging fruit. Let us involve our fathers. Let us involve our brothers. And until they do not join this campaign, you are not going to have the level of comfort that is needed in a family.
Donors have played an important role in contraceptive procurement and supporting the supply chain in Pakistan. UNFPA prior to 2009 and USAID thereafter.
There are around estimated 23 million of married women of reproductive age who are at the risk of getting pregnant. More than 300,000 health facilities or community-based distribution points which are in the need of family planning products. Then what are the mechanisms of supply chain management and systems which are responsive to the needs of those women in Pakistan?
The supply chain isn't the only area where the federal government has a role in the population sector. There is a need for national vision and policy. Countries with large populations accord national priority to population as an issue. China has a federal commission. Indonesia has a board. Pakistan created the National Commission on Population Welfare in 2005. It never functioned properly, and after the 18th Amendment, it has just vanished into thin air. A number of important research institutes are under the control of the Ministry of Health. The National Institute of Population Studies is one of them, but its importance was never fully recognized.
इस इदारे का भी हमें मैंडेट जो है एक्सपेंड करने की ज़रूरत है ताकि ये इदारा जो है पॉपुलेशन और डेमोग्राफी के साथ साथ बाकी जो हेल्थ कंपोनेंट है या हेल्थ सेक्टर एज ए होल उसके डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स और डिफरेंट प्रोग्राम्स को भी एग्जामिन कर सके, एवेल्यूएट कर सके और उस पर सर्वेज और रिसर्च अपनी कंडक्ट कर सके.
Another research institute, the National Research Institute for Fertility Control, can help in making contraceptives more acceptable. NRFIC is not a priority. It has limited funding and suffers from the human resource issues which devolved institutions are facing.
A lot of persons were retired, scientists were retired, but no replacement was done by the ministry.
The National Trust for Population Welfare is another important federal institution. It was created to promote partnership with government, NGOs and the private sector, but the potential of this institution was never tapped. After devolution, it is in a sorry state.
आज अगर आप नेट को देखते हैं तो पिछले गालबन आई मस्ट से इमीडिएट आफ्टर डेवोल्यूशन इसका कोई वाली वारिस ही नहीं है. अब ये फिक्रा बड़ा आयरॉनिकल है कि भाई हम फेडरल गवर्नमेंट है, मैं खुद कह रहा हूँ कि इसका वाली वारिस नहीं है. मतलब ये है कि इसके पास कोई टर्म्स ऑफ रेफरेंस नहीं है. 31 पीपल आर वर्किंग देयर और उनका सैलरी स्ट्रक्चर जो है वो 8,70,000 72,000 कुछ है. जो इंटरेस्ट इनकम माइनस सैलरी जो उनके पास बचता है वो फिगर मुझे याद है वो 72,000 रुपये है. 72,000 रुपये पर मंथ अवेलेबल है नेटपो के पास आफ्टर सैलरी. अभी उन्होंने रेंटल देना है, उन्होंने यूटिलिटी बिल्स देने हैं. असल काम जिसके लिए नेटपो बना है उसके लिए उनके पास एक पैनी का फाइनेंशियल स्पेस नहीं है. देयरफॉर उनके पास फाइनेंशियल स्पेस नहीं है, उनके पास जॉब नहीं है, टास्क नहीं है, उनको टास्क हमने किया नहीं है, उसका बोर्ड इन प्लेस नहीं है, उसका चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर नहीं है. क्या हो रहा है?
The lack of support for these institutions is tragic. If NATPA was functioning, it could fully engage the private sector and help upscale Pakistan's pioneering efforts in family planning. It is not just NATPA but most institutions involved in the family planning effort which suffer from malaise and deep distortions, unable to deliver on their mandate, leading the nation to fail on its 5-decade-long goal of universal coverage for family planning. We blame religion and social factors, but one of the real reasons why we have been unable to reduce fertility as have other countries is because our systems have been unable to cater to the unmet need in family planning. These governance shortcomings must be tackled. Our call to action has many recommendations because there really is an urgent need to recognize the imperative to reform each of the service delivery pillars. A lot of things need to happen at the strategic and tactical levels, at the political and systems levels, and all of this needs to happen in tandem. Many of us have a role. The Council of Common Interests must forge federal-provincial convergence for a national vision on family planning in line with FP 2020. Leadership has to embrace girls' education and women's empowerment as an overarching priority. The Prime Minister must reformulate the National Commission on Population Welfare and make it work this time. The Federal Ministry of Health should play its constitutional role and revitalize its research and normative agencies and take responsibility for commodity security. The Chief Ministers should lead intersectoral arrangements that can hold stakeholders accountable for implementing policy commitments, and in the process, they must also integrate health and population. Parliamentarians should refrain from patronage, as that is detrimental for program outcomes. NGOs have to help upscale best practices. The private sector has to be on board. Families, men and women, mothers-in-law, and most importantly, couples all have to be part of the solution. Our failure to promote family planning could have great repercussions. Pakistan's galloping population is imposing an unmanageable demand on the economy, the social sector, and the environment. It is not just the future we have to worry about. We are facing the crunch as we speak. 3 million people, a whole new city is added to the population every year. Our hospitals, schools, roads, cities are all crumbling under this pressure. There are serious implications for food, energy, and water security. The country is literally bursting at the seams. Today, Pakistan's exploding population is the real crisis that threatens the prosperity of our generations. In the face of resource scarcity, constrained economic opportunities and joblessness, population growth is simply pushing youth further into the hands of terrorists, gangs and mafias. It is fueling a fire that is ravaging our country. We must stabilize our population. This is not just an imperative for women's health, well-being and poverty reduction. It is necessary for national progress and development and the security of our nation.